I think in today's society that the major change is that we have lost touch with the more divine quality inside of ourselves. This means that men have lost their connection and their relationship to what it means to be truly masculine, and women have lost in the same way, their connection to what it means to be truly feminine, but in a much more profound way than just pretty or cute. And that I believe to be a sad thing, because actually when this happens, we lose our connection to the divine, which is what I teach about, our connection to something that is much more beyond ourselves, much more beyond the individual. And I believe that the relationship between man and woman is the quickest and most enjoyable way to be in touch with this. And because modern society has so socialized our way and thinking beyond that connection from early childhood, and if you just look around you, how things are done, then we just don't even trust or believe that that is possible. We've even lost the hope that that is a possibility, because we don't see it in our friends, we don't see it in our family, and we just don't see it anywhere. We don't have a reference point as was practiced before, where the relationship between man and woman was sacred, and there were many aspects of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman that complemented one another, so that the relationship was a journey to discover this more beautiful part of ourselves.
And what can we do living in this society of today if we want to get into that direction?
I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult because by ourselves I'm not sure that we can easily do anything, because as human beings we need to have some knowledge to do something. We need to have an understanding how to do something before we can actually put it into practice. So the first thing I would say is that it's important to find someone that you are able to be totally honest and open and loving with. So not just to find a normal relationship, like people are saying, find a relationship so that you're happy and you fall in love, which I call infatuation, but more a relationship where there is a deep connection that allows for that connection, that deep love, to guide you to that space where it is possible to discover parts of yourself that are hidden. They're still there, but that are hidden, and you're honest enough to allow that process to open up, and trusting enough that it's okay to open up. Because sometimes, it feels a little bit scary to do that, just because people are worried, if they open up to such a deep level that they may be hurt. That is one of the big things in society. People say, don't go so deep because it may, who knows what might happen, and you may get very hurt. So there is a resistance. So that knowledge, I think you find in the person that you love, because together then you create an alchemical process where, you go beyond the limitations that society and the mind and emotions impose upon what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. Beyond that, I think you need to understand some very basic concepts, which I believe were practiced in ancient times, and this is, some people call this Tantra, but I don't like the word Tantra because in modern society this means, sexuality, and for me Tantra is not at all, sexuality is part of it, but it's not at all that. It's more, discovering what it means to utilize aspects of yourself in a relationship, and especially the body, and so how to relax the body And for me, the body is not just physical, the body is much more. So how to relax the body to such a point where the body can guide you in the relationship. And that is called instinct and following, intuition, rather than, just listening to the emotions and listening to the mind. And they're impermanent, so if you just listen to them or you're just attached to those, then the problem usually is that when you fall a little bit out of love or when things get difficult, the magic between two people disappears. But when you're in touch with your body in a very specific way, like I believe Jesus and Mary Magdalene were, then there is a spiritual bond, because the body leads. The body, I believe, to be the temple, and then that temple leads you to a space where, there is a very deep alchemical process between two people. It's vague because I can't really be too specific, but I'm just giving a general idea. This is what I teach. Basically, I've been working with this concept for now more than 20 years with people, how to let go of all the limitations inside of you so that you're open and honest and direct and courageous enough to be able to share your deepest part of yourself with another person. And when you do this, then you're opening to the divine, because this is what the divine, I believe, wants people to do. People meaning man and woman, to get closer. Because this, on earth, on this physical dimension, that is the most powerful meditation, which I call Tantra, it's the most powerful meditation to be able to open up in this way.
What is the main difference, or the main differences between a man and a woman on how they perceive reality, how they perceive this world?
I've heard, people have talked about books, that there is a lot of difference in perception. There is a book, isn't there? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or whatever. I didn't read the book, so I have no idea. But I don't believe this to be totally true. I think, that's a generalization. But if you want a generalization, I feel that, and I'm not just saying this, I feel that women are more in touch with themselves simply because of the physical structure of the body, having a period and just being able to have a baby. The body is much more in touch with subtle elements such as the moon and energies that exist here on Earth. So they have a much more clear ability to sense things and to be very more connected to the emotions than most men. This is a generalization, because then you can get some women who are totally out of touch with their emotions, so it's not to say you're a woman so you're in touch with your emotions, but the latent potential that is there. So for me, the woman is basically like the vehicle, is like the moon. It's a space, a very expansive space, and men can be in touch with their emotions, but are much more like the active principle, and so they're able to. They're like the sun. They're able to help understand and create a connection in that open space. I hope I'm making sense. So, there is a major difference, to be a man and to be a woman, there is a major difference. But in the end, when you're connected to those aspects of yourself, then it's the same.
So do you think that this changing of the roles of each gender in today's society is the right direction?
Actually, our society is not healthy or balanced at all. If you compare it to, some old traditional societies, our society is masculine and only looks at very masculine aspects as being important. So, work, achievement, competition, also in the feminine sense, it's all about the external, the beauty, the physical beauty, what you do, how you do, what you dress, and the internal aspects are lost. And those are the aspects that are important to work with, what I was saying previously. So I don't believe our society is at all free. I think it's much more complicated to live in this society than it was in some more traditional societies where there were taboos that prevented you from doing certain things that were, easy to see. In our society, this is why young people today, find it very difficult. There is so much pressure to be and do things in a certain way. So that sense of freedom it's not there. People, you have to be very strong to say, I don't want to follow in that direction and I want to do something for myself because I believe that's important. Most people just fall into the old and easy ways of doing things. And it's so masculine that even our perception of reality is changed. If we look at how we look at time and how we act out our lives, it is a very masculine way of doing things. So I don't believe this to be balanced at all. And it's our society, so we have to live with it. And this is where I believe, we can't just say no, or try to leave society and go somewhere and, create some sort of paradise. I believe we can do that in a relationship when we bring those aspects that are missing on the outside back into the relationship, and then that can create a sense of freedom to do what you want to do outside in society. And that requires two people to be so close that their reference point isn't I have to dress up in this way, or I have to do this, or I have to create this for myself to be happy. It is the relationship between two people.
And what are the normal average relationships between men and women in today's society creating, if we look at the society as a whole?
Then you have to look at statistics to see that they don't last. No, I'm told anyway that marriage is absolutely an institution, and it's not really. I'm not against marriage, but how I see it is that it's a romantic idea, but for most people it's not really a happy ending, and most relationships, they are very nice in the beginning because Western society places a lot on romantic infatuation, which infatuation means that you are not really seeing the person for who they are. You're falling in love with an idea. And this is what I mean, coming back to the body. See, instead of actually relating to the person and seeing who the person is, you are projecting an image of who you would like the person to be. So infatuation lasts for as long as that image is maintained, and it can't be for 10 years. Usually people, after a few months or maybe 3 or 4 months, say, okay, there are aspects of this person that I'm not so comfortable with, and so then the intensity of love disappears, and that connection wanes, and then the relationship is a relationship. People stay in the relationship because they're not wanting to be alone. They don't want to be lonely. They're afraid of leaving the relationship because it may mean that this or that happen. There is not that deep connection that creates the alchemical process, because I believe relationship can go deeper. It's not that there is a romantic few months in the beginning and then, well, you just live together. I believe actually if you are listening to the person and listening to your body and listening to the reality of the other person that you're in relationship with, then you can only fall more and more in love with that person. It's impossible not to, because you recognize more and more of what you love with time, rather than, saying, oh, I don't like this because this was just an idea of the person. You completely see what is beautiful about the person. And I think this is not so easy because we don't have experience in this. Our parents usually don't have that sort of love. They maintain a relationship for the good of the children, or because it's what they've done and they don't know anything else. But they haven't got that sense of love like Romeo and Juliet, that amazing sense where, all you can do is you want to be with the person and you want to share more and more of who you are with the person, and the person wants to do the same thing. That creates a deep oneness, and this oneness, creates more and more love. I don't see that in today's most people. I don't see that. How to bring that more about? I think you really have to find someone that is the person that you love, not just have an idea. And that takes courage, because, sometimes we fall in love with people because they fit into our lifestyle. Sometimes you may fall in love with someone that is so totally different from what you expect or what you think. And that is usually a sign that that person is more your complementary, rather than, just the normal relationships of finding someone that is fits into the picture of your mind.
And if someone is currently in a relationship,
Yes.
and would like to create a relationship as you described it,
This is possible.
is it possible? I mean, should he or she try it with the partner that he's with, or is it absolutely necessary for the partner also to be open to it? Or
Of course.
yeah, one person cannot do it on their own.
Absolutely not, because love is about connection, and if there is no connection, to pretend that there is a connection is also what people have been doing in the Western world for a very long time. It's a pretend, it's a game, it's a dream, hoping that the person will eventually change and that, they will recognize your love. And that cannot happen, because the alchemical process requires that both people in the moment are open in that way to each other. And if the other person is not open, then you're being more like a mother or a sister or a brother. You're not real. And people have that sort of relationship, where they mother or father each other, or are more friends, good friends, but not real, not the profound love that I'm speaking about. So it requires that the other person is open. But if both people are open, it is possible to come to an understanding, to let go of the old reference points. And this requires courage, and this is what I teach in my retreats. How can you do this? It's difficult. When you have a habit, when you're used to doing something in a relationship, the tendency is to fall into that habit. And if you don't know that you can do something differently, or you haven't got experience, then, even if both of you want to change, it's not that easy. So this is why, I teach many very core things that one can incorporate in their life to change a relationship from being one that is not very deep to being one where, everything is communicated and everything is beautifully open. One of the first things is honesty. And being honest is not just, speaking, but really revealing who you are with courage and with trust. And I find most relationships have a level of honesty, but not a complete honesty. And I think this is because, society is very superficial. It's all about image, and that gets carried on in our emotional makeup. So this is what I work with, and the way I do this is by going through different aspects of ourselves in meditation that may limit that honesty and openness from happening. And first we have to start with ourselves, to see what we do that doesn't really show who we are to the world. And it's easier to do this internally through meditation. And when you know and you trust and you're honest and open to your partner, they can support you and you can support them. And that support then leads to a very mystical space. You go from love to divine love.